This is Mission Control Houston. Welcome to today's ISS Update. It is Thursday, March 7th, 2013. This is a live view inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. This team today is being led by Flight Director Mike Lammers. Today's Capcom sitting beside him is Leslie Ringo. She'll be the voice up to the crew of Expedition 34 on board the orbiting complex. The crew's had a busy last few days working on quite a variety of experiments and routine maintenance tasks inside the International Space Station, but also outside as well. After we went off the air yesterday around 1 p.m. Central Time, ground commands were sent to the International Space Station's robotic arm. It was instructed to go inside and reach inside the trunk section of the SpaceX Dragon vehicle and retrieve these two grapple bars that were flown up to the orbiting complex inside this unpressurized section of this cargo vehicle. Everything went according to plan, and in just a few minutes, the ground teams were able to remove those grapple bars from Dragon and to get them installed on a payload attachment point on the station's mobile base structure. That is where they will remain until this summer, when they will be retrieved during the first of two spacewalks that are planned for the crew. Chris Cassidy and Luca Parmitano will go outside probably around the July timeframe to retrieve those grapple bars as one of the tasks that they will be doing, and we'll move them over to the S1 and P1 truss that's on the immediate left and right hand side of the station's structure, and that is where they will be stored permanently until they're needed to possibly remove one of the station's radiator parts that are outside the space station itself. But all went according to plan yesterday. That ground-commanded robotic operation went off without a hitch. Inside the space station today, there is some maintenance taking place on the carbon dioxide removal assembly. There's two of these inside the space station. This particular one that the crew is working on is inside the Tranquility node. The crew worked today to relocate that particular Cedra, as it is known, over to the Kibo laboratory. This is simply to give them more room to work. There's quite a bit of equipment and exercise equipment inside Tranquility, so to give them more elbow room, they move Cedra from there to Kibo, and once they get it set up, they're going to spend the next couple of days removing the scrubbing beds that are part of Cedra. There's two brand new beds that were flown up on the Dragon vehicle. They're going to replace both of those, and then one of the beds that's going to come out of this Tranquility Cedra is going to be moved over to the Destiny Cedra, so some swapping of the parts going on there, and then some of those used beds will come home aboard the SpaceX flight. There's also a valve that's going to be replaced on that Tranquility bed, Tranquility Cedra as well. Earlier this morning, some activities with Robonaut took place. The crew watched along as ground commands were sent to check out Robonaut's arms, as you can see moving around there. Also, Robonaut's vision sensors were checked out, but this robot continuing to be put through its paces as the ground teams check it out and make sure that it's operating according to plan. The crew that's getting ready to come home, Kevin Ford, Oleg Novitsky, and Evgeny Tarelkin, they're in their final week aboard the International Space Station. They're due for a landing on March 14th. Went through Soyuz descent drill today, namely Novitsky and Tarelkin were inside their Soyuz TMA-06M, which is docked there to the Poisk module. They basically reenacted what they're going to be doing coming up in a week as the ground teams there in Russia followed along with them and made sure everything was going according to plan. Here's a look at what's ahead on the 14th. Beginning at 3:45 p.m. Central Time, we'll have farewell and hatch closure coverage beginning here on NASA television. The actual hatch closure itself will take place at 4:15 p.m. Central Time. Our second broadcast begins at 7:15 p.m. Central, with undocking coverage from here inside Mission Control, and then undocking taking place at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, some 15 minutes after that. And then our third broadcast begins at 9:45 p.m. Central Time with landing coverage. The deorbit burn will take place at 10:04 p.m. Central, and then landing will take place at 10:57 p.m. Central Time, so a fairly quick turnaround from the deorbit burn down to the landing coverage. That's going to be 9:57 a.m. the next morning on March 15th there in Kazakhstan. Quite a chilly morning. We'll be greeting this crew as they get back on Earth, with the temperatures being probably in the 20s, climbing up to the 30s during the day. Meanwhile, The crew that's getting ready to launch to the station: Pavel Vinogradov, Alexander Mazurkin, Chris Cassidy. They've been undergoing final activities and training and simulation runs there at the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center. They had their traditional news conference there at GCTC in Star City, Russia. And then they traveled to Red Square in Moscow today, where they laid flowers at the Kremlin Wall, where several Russian space icons are buried. That is part of the traditional pre-launch activities as this crew gets ready to head up to the station on March 28th. And as a final note, on board the space station today, Expedition 34 has several different crew Earth observation opportunities. They've got some coastal wetlands around the Caspian Sea that they have a chance to take a look at. They'll be flying over Moldova, have a chance to capture that if they have the time. They'll be flying over Armenia and Mount Ararat, which is a famous mountain in that area. And finally, they'll be flying over the state of Georgia in the United States and the Altamaha River, which is one of the largest and least developed rivers on the East Coast. Of course, you can log on to eol.jsc.nasa.gov. Once again, eol.jsc.nasa.gov to take a look at any of these images, and maybe you might see your hometown as well.